Anupriya Goenka. Welcome to my chat show.
Thank you so much.
There was any overwhelming moment on sets of the Sultan of Delhi?
Overwhelming.
Because of a celeb presence, or maybe because of a certain challenging or tough scene.
I think more than anybody else, the only person I think with the celeb that you can talk about will be Milan sir.
Milan.
And because he's a veteran, he's an ace director. You've grown up watching his films, and you know that his cinema denotes something. And so that's the great part of Milan sir, that his cinema, and that's has always enticed me, that he figures a way of doing this completely commercial, flamboyant, larger than life content while making the characters very relatable, also grounded in some sense. And it's very realistic also somewhere, that middle ground, that amalgamation is so well put. And I think similarly, you see that in Sultan of Delhi. I think overwhelming moment would be so Shankari's attires are very interesting. What she's wearing, how she's projecting herself all the time. And I think, first of all, it used to take about 2.5 hours to get ready for each particular scene almost. And because there was a wig, there was so much of makeup, there was so much of costume work that had to happen each time. We would have trials almost every other day. But when you go on set, you realize, oh my God, so much other work has also been put in terms of the set, in terms of taking back us to the era of the 60s, shooting in palaces. Everybody's dressed in vintage attire. And while it's very relatable, because you're right there, you can see it, but you can also somewhere sense the magnitude of it. You can sense that, oh, this is very larger than life for a web show. So, and of course, my character, like I was so much on an internal space, figuring out, okay, how will I say this? What will happen? What am I supposed to feel? It took me a couple of days. Like I was romanticizing Shankari for about 6 months or 4 months in my head before I went on set, which doesn't really happen, I was almost nervous and romanticizing her for a couple of months because I was very interested and I was very scared of not making mistakes, not doing it the typical way. But on set, so much else dictates what you do, right? It's the placement, it's the set, it's the positioning of the actors, it's how you're doing the scene. All that takes over. So I think I can't pinpoint one overwhelming moment. I would say it was very easy to get transported to that world because of so much beautiful work that has been put by the team, be it Namit and his team of crew, or the costume designers, Malika and Jia, or Milan sir for that matter. He had his eyes on everything. And yeah, it was just an extremely interesting journey in Sultan of Delhi. And Shankari is this very mysterious woman for me. She is a very, very layered character. I would like to believe that she's someone way back in the 60s who must have gone through a fair share of events in her life while she was very young, or while she was a child, could have been misused by men. And now she's at a place where she's extremely ambitious, very, very sharp. And she knows that she has both the guts and the acumen to really call the shots. And she wants a seat on the table. She wants to be someone who's a power to reckon with. She doesn't want to be behind the shadows of men, But women in that time needed to. They did not, and that to Sultan of Delhi is really set in against the world of crime. So, so in that time, she's such a woman who would not let the men dictate her destiny. But on the other hand, from the back doors, she would be making her chess moves so that she gets to be somewhere at the forefront in the future.
What was your prep for it?
So, I think a prep for Shankari's character was a lot to do with the script that I was given, to work on the script, because I like to be in that framework. And Milan sir, in discussions with him and Supan, really helped me in understanding Shankari and being off her, of accepting her, because it was an out and out negative character for me. And it was hard for me to find a vulnerable side. And, you know, she would do certain things which would be completely outrageous. So for me to also be able to empathize with this character, I would need to find reasons for her backstory. And she's just a very ambitious person. If you look at it, I think there are these characters, and I've always felt that dark characters are a great platform for an actor, because you get to explore something that you don't do in regular life. You get to dig shades of yourself, or imbibe other qualities, become less judgmental. And Shankari did exactly everything of that sort for me, and even more, because she is so in touch with her sexuality, her sensuousness, and she has no forms of using it to get her work done. Plus, she can do outrageous things, as I told you, which are completely unemotional, very insensitive sometimes. And while discovering my grounds with the character, I realized that I don't need to always have a backstory for her or justify her actions. She's in a world of men who use sex, who use power, who use blood, who use crime just to further their agenda. And they don't have to describe themselves, because they are men and they can be ambitious and they can do whatever. But because she's a woman, somewhere deep down, even I was trying to make her righteous and have reason enough for doing anything that was not morally correct. And I figured why. She's allowed, when the men are allowed to use this, her sex quotient, why can't she be using it to further her motives? And she doesn't need to have a sad past or a very sad upbringing to really today be doing something which might not be morally right. So yeah, I think I grew a lot as a person through Shankari's character. And when you talk about the prep, I think it was so much of this internal dialogue that used to go on. Also, the lines are pretty commercial, very bombastic lines, very, very like that whole
Milan Luthria
commercials, power pack lines that we like. And I kind of grew as an actor in that area also, because generally I've always done very realistic characters. I've done very conversational lines. And in the beginning, I was like, oh God, So I used to be like, okay, this has to be done. Like how to make it very natural while also they were all in a meter. They have to be delivered in a certain way. And my tryst was to not play the vamp in the typical vamp way that we have been used to, right? Because I would not have any other let's say idea or an experience to go back. My experience of understanding these vampish characters would be the entertainment content that I have seen in all my life. So I was very scared that I shouldn't just play it like that. But then the lines say a certain thing and the body language say a certain thing, and on set a lot of other things happen. So I think it was all this trying to make something out of it. Like even today I'm nervous. I'm actually very nervous of the screening tomorrow. I'm actually very nervous of the release day after in 2-3 days, because I myself don't know what I've done and how it's going to come out. But I just know that it was meant for me to do, because I grew a lot as a person and as an actor.
Your first film was Bobby Jasoos, right?
Yeah.
What is the one thing that you recall about that film?
मैंने दिसंबर एंड में ऑफ 2013 बॉबी जासूस शूट करी थी, जब मैं 2 तेलुगु मूवीज कर चुकी थी। और मैं ना परेशान हो गई थी अपने तेलुगु मूवी एक्सपीरियंस से, जो एक मूवी चल रहा था, बिकॉज it went on for like 10 months and I just wanted to come back to Bombay at that time, and it was a difficult experience. The first Telugu part of it somehow went on. Sorry?
Had those films not released when you...
No, they released. They pretty much released.
Okay.
But So one was a great experience because, it was very well executed, this, that, very easy breezy. And the other one, although it was more of an arty stuff that I was looking forward to do, at the same point, the experience of shooting, because of the way it was executed, was very, very tough on all of us. And it went on for like 10 months. Or I think some films just have their own destinies, right?
Which
So
one was this?
that's called Pashala. It's a Telugu film. And when that was my first ever movie experience as an actor. And when Bobby Jasoos happened, so I was wanting to come back to Bombay and restart a life in Bombay. And Bobby Jasoos also took me back to Hyderabad. And we were literally shooting in the same areas as I was shooting in the past, like literally the same houses, literally the same real locations. And I was like, oh my God, how uncanny can that be? But one of the bestest experiences of Bobby Jasoos for me, if I have to say, would be Vidya Balan. Like, I've always been a Vidya fan. And Samar was a beautiful collaborator to work with. And Dia, on the other hand, like Dia was the producer on the film, and being an actor, uh, being being someone who understood acting and how to bridge the gap between producers and actors, and especially because I was so new, she kind of gave me that space of, I've got you, like, we are here, we'll tell you what to do. That was really beautiful. So yeah, I think it was a lovely experience because of these two women, Dia and Vidya. And I would always hold that in beautiful space.
What do you see as milestones of your journey
Milestones as in that I've crossed, or the milestones I want to cross further?
that you have crossed?
That I have crossed. So I think, I don't know. In a way, I have, when I started off to act, I'd already been working in right after school with my father in his business, and then in the corporate world. And I'd shifted my family around. I'd settled them in Bombay. So I'd already settled my family. I'd already bought a house, though it was on a home loan. And then I left my job in order to get into acting on a whim. But it was also very clear for me that earning is very important. I need to always be putting food on the table. And if I'm not able to do that, I would stop acting. Like, that was very clear in my head. And commercial acting started with that only, because I couldn't do theater just as an acting space. I tried doing that, but it wasn't working. It wasn't feasible to do it with a job. So initially I was just floating. Like, I did not come with a certain vision. It was just to do good work. And I was clear that nobody's put a gun to my head. This is my choice. But I will do it with dignity. I will do it my way. I will do projects that I like. If, of course, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's this, that, but I feel towards, in a way, because I had never really set targets. So I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I always had a plan B in the beginning, that jahan kaam nahi kiya, wapas corporate job. Jahan hua nahi, wapas corporate job. Like, I used to keep telling myself to feel better, ki okay, fine, ho jayega. Zyada se zyada kya ho sakta hai, And by God's grace, mehnat ki maine, kaam milta raha, kaam chalta raha. So in the first 3-4 years, I think it was primarily the ad world that sustained me. People like Dia, Vidya, Pradeep Sarkar, they had a huge impact on me as an actor, as an artist, knowing that okay, fine, there are good people here, I can function. And this whole casting director space had just started then, so that was very, very helpful. I've only gotten work through auditions. And ads sustained me for larger part of those 4-5 years until Tiger Zinda Hai and Padmavat and War happened. And then all these, during the same time, all these series started. That's when the second phase of my career started. But with that, team management and understanding PR and understanding how to do events and what is styling all about and there was a different sort of learning that started taking place, and which I had not perceived. I had not understood or perceived. And then it comes to, like, I think I was always choosy about what I was doing. But it's funny when you have reached somewhere, uh, you get so used to being on set, you get so used to, acting every day and doing things and having releases. It kind of becomes more difficult to say no, is what my realization was. Because I wanted to sustain something and I wanted that वो चस्का लग जाता है ना कि आपको सेट पे रहना, आपको अलग अलग डायरेक्टर्स के साथ काम करना है. तो एंड आई थिंक आप जब कुछ थोड़ा सा पा लेते हो तो यू आर मोर वरिड अबाउट लूजिंग दैट vis-a-vis not having anything and floating. So last 3, 4, 5 years, and I've had my own journey in my personal space also. And acting has always been about, I think, more than yardsticks and about what work I'm doing and how much am I growing commercially as an actor. It's always been more about how am I growing internally as an actor for me. So I felt I've done इस तरह का मैंने acting कर लिया. अब मैं और क्या कर रही हूँ? Like, and then I realized that अब जब तक I don't feed my, I think I never learned acting. So whatever I was doing was more because of whatever my past experiences were before I started to act and while I was acting. All my fodder for all my material for it used to come from my life. But I felt, oh, I've used it. Now to the time I don't start feeding more material to myself, understanding myself, unraveling myself as a person, I'll probably be performing in the same, like, same kind of a world, same sort of a landscape. I will not really be exploring much beyond that. So last 2, 3 years has been since COVID, I think. Last 2, 3 years have been a lot about figuring myself, breaking my patterns, understanding myself as a person, learning new things, and understanding what acting really means for me, how it feeds my soul, and being a little like fearless and anxious but fearless. All of those sort of things, Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it.
So you just told me your role is Vampish in Sultan of Delhi. And I was told you're also playing a psycho killer in a film with Vinay Pathak.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Beautiful. I love Vanessa. I totally love him. It was a very, very well written script, and we were all very excited to do it. Vikram Kuchar is also a part of it. Rajiv Thakur is a part of it. And I think you manifest somewhere, some way. So I've been wanting to do, I was doing such righteous characters that I wanted to do these dark characters. And उसमें भी फिर चूज करना पड़ रहा था फिर एक टाइम तक वही बहुत आ रहे थे तो बहुत मजा आया वो कैरेक्टर करते हुए उसमें हल्का सा कॉमिक स्पेस भी है इट्स आल्सो वेरी like interesting in terms of it's dark but it's very comical in her very over the top and she's fun, she's bubbly, being a psycho killer. So it's a very different character to play with. And there is a story within a story, within a story, within a story happening in the screenplay. So I get to play some different shades as an actor. So it's an interesting film. I'm hoping for it to come out soon sometime.
When you describe your role, I had Kangana on my mind from her film, the Rajkumar Rao film.
Sorry?
When you described your role, I had Kangana on my mind from her film with Rajkumar Rao. Judgmental hai kya?
Achha, वैसा? No, I don't think the worlds and the characteristics are kind of different. But at the same point in time, yeah, at core, maybe they can be a little similar in some sense. She's just a character which has so many shades to it, and she's just having fun along the way. There is not a straight way of doing anything for that character. Everything is just an exploration. So I played it like that, and I don't know. I was just having fun in throughout that space. I used to tell Vinay sir that if I've never done over the top performance, and if you think I'm performing, too loud or something, please tell me. If my performance is not good, I'll come put you in the on the spot. And like, Are, how will I like? I would keep telling him that, listen, I'm having fun. I'm going over the top. That if I'm not doing something right now, please tell me on the side. It was that. It was fun.
As an actor, what has been the best and the worst response that you've received?
The best and the worst response. I don't remember. Okay, so maybe generally I'm told that I'm a good actor. I have a strong screen presence, or I'm very honest in my performances, or when some fans would come and say that we really follow all your work, and they would say the work. I think one fan, I really remember one fan went on, like most of the times they just appreciate a work. They don't get technical with their analysis. But this one fan came and he, he really went on to say, this is what happened in your this performance, this is what happened in this performance. I've seen you grow like that. And I had to ask that, are you from the artistic side of things? And he was not. But I really loved the way he kind of was noticing things and having an analogy, having an analysis. So yeah, I think that somebody once, I think मैं मुकेश भट्ट साहब से मिली थी एक बार, बहुत पहले जब मैंने कुछ खास काम नहीं किया था. And I've always been a Smita Patil fan, and Smita Patil ma'am and Shabana Azmi ma'am have always been my inspiration. I've always wanted to do something like whatever they have done in their prime time. That's always been on my mind, that I want to do something in that zone. So I think somehow I ended up getting a meeting with Mukesh Bhatt, and he very nicely said that, Beta, you remind me of a very close friend of mine. Something about you remind me of her. And he said Smita Patil, and I was just aghast. And I said, there can be no better compliment. Like, I'm not deserving of it. But I knew in that moment that I don't think that there could be any other compliment in my life. And for a person who's so intelligent and is of a stature that, I mean, to beat that compliment is difficult for me. Worst, worst thing, I don't know. I mean, there are times when you get typecasted. There are times when people feel that, oh, you're either too pretty, or you are less pretty, or you are too modern, or you're not that modern. I think those sort of things comes to getting typecast is I think the worst feeling as an actor, when you don't know how to break that.
Or audience?
Sorry?
Typecast by the industry or the audience?
I think more the industry, but obviously it works the way it does. A larger part of it is because it's hard for people to imagine you do different things till the time you don't get an opportunity to do them. And to get an opportunity to do them, you need for someone to be able to think out of the box about you. Like, I truly appreciate Mukesh Chabra and Milan sir for giving me the opportunity to play Shankari in Sultan of Delhi, because I don't think generally people would have been able to think like that. I appreciate YRF for giving me Aditi in War, because that was also very different than what I'd done, or Nagmati in Padmavat. So there are those snippets that once you get a chance and you're able to explore, and some people are able to see a part of you in a different way. But yeah, those are far and few, and it's all about what you do with those chances.